family business of scrap processing and shipbreaking in 1974, and since then has forayed into diversified businesses. During his study at St. Xavier's College, he was elected the first student chairman of the Students' Union Council in 1967-68. Before Gulam became a Rotarian, he was selected on the Rotary's GSC team from District 314 to 656, Indiana, USA in 1978. He was invited to join the Rotary Club of Bombay Downtown in 1979 and became its president in 85-86 and later moved to RC Mumbai in 2015. In 2002-03, RID 3140 unanimously elected Gulam as its district governor. A major project during his tenure was the railway station adoption project, Jana Seva Abhiyan, when the Rotary clubs of his district made it their mission to ease the hassles associated with local rail commuting. As a district governor, Gulam also inspired record contributions from his district to the Rotary Foundation, $654,000 US, the largest contribution by any Rotary district in India till 2006-07. Gulam's commitment and his training and motivational skills have been duly acknowledged when he was assigned several international tasks by Rotary International and the Rotary Foundation. He served as a regional Rotary Foundation coordinator, member of Rotary Peace Centers Committee, RI training leader for 2007 and again for 2008, chairman of RI Communications Committee, member Future Vision Committee, RI President's representative to many district conferences in India, Australia, and New Zealand. He has been appointed TRF trustee from July 2018 to 2022. Major donor, he is a recipient of Rotary International's Service Above Self Award and the Rotary Foundation's Citation for Meritorious Service and Distinguished Service Award. Gulam's motto of service encompasses other initiatives too. He is a member of the governing board of Mumbai First, a high-powered group of citizens committed to improve the quality of life in Mumbai, the Mohalla Committee Movement Trust, and Public Concern for Governance Trust that work for probity in public life and promoting communal harmony.
Thank you, Shakuntala ma'am and Gulam sir. That was really inspirational. Just to, for the benefit of the Rotary members who have joined today, I will give a brief introduction on Dr. Harish Hande. So, Dr. Harish Hande is an engineer.
Can we see his photo?
Yeah. Sir, can you just come online, sir? Harish sir.
Hello, sir. Hello, hi, sir. Hello, how are you, sir?
Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening, sir. How are you?
Yeah.
So I'm gay introduction ka koi zarurat nahi hai. Main sure. Don't worry.
So let's hear it. Thank you. I'm sure it was very embarrassing for me, but for the benefit of SELCO's, your colleagues in SELCO, I think it was probably over the top as far as Rotary is concerned. But let's hear about you, Mr. Hande.
Yeah, I'll just read just few lines. So he's a graduate from IIT Kharagpur and master's from University of Massachusetts in US. He co-founded SELCO in 1994-95 after experiencing the benefits of solar energy in rural areas of Dominican Republic and Sri Lanka. Harish is recognized as a pioneer of rural energy service across the globe. He and his SELCO India has received many national and international awards, which include the reputed Zaid Future Energy in 2018, Skoll in 2018, as well as the Raymond Magsaysay, which goes to Dr. Harish Hande in 2011. Just a few lines about SELCO. It's a for-profit social enterprise which works in the area of energy, education, health, water, skills, and financial inclusion. It has 60 plus offices spread across the 4 states of Karnataka, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, and Bihar. And through SELCO Foundation, we have offices in Jharkhand, Orissa, parts of Manipur, Assam, and Meghalaya. Yeah, so just a brief introduction about SELCO. Just to move forward, there is a presentation which will be done by Bhavna from Rotary, and I'm going to share the screen about the presentation as well. Bhavna, I think if you're unmute, you can go ahead.
Yeah. So am I audible?
Yes, yes, you're audible.
Yeah. So good evening, everyone. We understand that partnership always help build strategies and we work collectively towards building sustainable communities. So today Rotary and SELCO is exploring this partnership. I understand that we have worked together before also. We leverage our strength and this to make a long-term partnership with the foundation. Next slide, please. So Rotary Foundation India is a credible organization. We have presence around in 220 countries. We are registered as a society under Society Registration Act. We have dedicated and engaged Rotarians, which are almost 150,000 members in India. We have footprints all over India. That is, we have 3,800 plus clubs. So we have so many. This is our strength in the ground. Financial transparency and donor stewardship, and we have wide experience in implementation of program in different areas of focus. We have strong internal processes and reporting mechanism. Next. So I can see a synergy in the partnership. Rotary's areas of focus. We have 6 areas of focus: peace building and conflict resolution, disease prevention, WASH, MCH, maternal child health, BEL, and CED. So to name a few projects under these focus area, disease prevention is more or less covered. Setting up the blood bank, operating mobile health clinic project in the community, setting up of a special department and giving a donation of the equipment in a hospital, setting up of a dialysis center. In the water and sanitation, building toilets and hand washing stations, providing training to the teachers and the students also. MCH, pediatric heart surgeries. Basic education, provide basic facilities to the schools, e-learning equipment to schools and training to the school students and the teachers, to name a few projects. CED, setting up of a vocational training centers. So I can see that Rotary's areas of focus are very much aligned with SELCO's focus area: well-being, health, education, livelihood. Next. Rotary CSR partners. So since 2016, we have almost achieved 4 million CSR goal, and around 50 corporate have been partnered with the foundation till date. Yes. So these are the corporate partners who have partnered with the foundation. To name a few, it is Aditya Birla Group, Karur Vyasya Bank, Cello Pens, Nanny Tissues. So these are corporate partners who have given CSR funds to implement their program in the community. Next. In this, you can also see some of the more corporates: VIP Industries, Farida Group, TVS Tires, Atos, Force Laboratories, Lotus Herbals, Nadi. So these are our corporate partners. Next. So now, a way forward, we would like to hear from SELCO to take this partnership along ahead. So let's discuss the scope for this long-term partnership. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bhavna. So we'll move forward, and according to the agenda, I would now request Gulam sir to give his views on the long-term strategy objective of Rotary, and as well as the recent COVID scenario, his views on it, and Rotary's response to COVID in the last 3 months. Over to you, sir.
Well, thank you, Amog. Mr. Hande, good evening, and to all the representatives of SELCO who are with us. A very good evening to you and to my colleagues from Rotary also. I'm very happy to share this interactive process that we are going through today. So our, when we as trustees sit and discuss the way forward, we are very clear that for us to be really effective, we are looking for good partners who have the same vision and the objectives and fit into the kind of way forward, the goals that we have set for ourselves in serving the community. And we see that SELCO, the way you've been going forward in especially the areas of focus that you have, there is so much synergy between what SELCO does and what Rotary is doing around the world. When we, so internationally, we've got partners where, for example, in the peace centers, we work very closely with universities. There are 5 universities where we do a long-term course. And we also have 2 other universities where we do a very short-term course in terms of conflict prevention and resolution. So in other areas also, we are building partnerships. We are looking at World Vision, and SELCO, of course, would be an organization that will be greatly, we look forward to ensuring that we can work together. Let me quickly, briefly give you a look at what we did during well, not during, but right now when the COVID pandemic is hitting all of us, not just in India, but around the world. And so as soon as in March, when the pandemic was declared by the WHO, the trustees needed to respond very quickly. And we have 3 or 4 different types of grants. But there is one grant, there are 2 grants that I'm going to specifically talk about. One grant was called the Disaster Response Grant, and that grant is activated only when a disaster strikes. And in this case, of course, this is a major disaster. And so when this pandemic broke, we activated the Disaster Response Grant. And we have, these grants are meant for districts. We've got about 540 odd districts around the world. And we allow districts to apply for a disaster response grant of $25,000 each. And this was to be used for items which are small but were quickly needed. So for example, there were areas which needed rations, especially in India. They needed rations, they needed ready-to-eat meals, or sanitizers, or face masks, or PPEs. And then, so we distributed these grants to those districts that applied for, and we've given a very large number of district response grants across the world. And I'll give you the figures in a little bit. But the other grant which we've had for the last several years, and one which we actually use for doing I'm sorry. So what we have is the global grant, which are larger in size. There's more sustainability involved. And so that those grants, of course, by definition, are meant for items that would be used on a sustainable basis. So for example, ventilators to hospitals, or bronchoscopes, or hospital beds. And these have been given by districts or clubs, Rotary clubs, which apply for the global grant. And then the Rotary Foundation appraises the grant proposal and then sanctions the amount. And these amounts range from anything from $45,000 upwards to well over $100,000 plus. So just to give you a brief idea of the figures, that the amounts that we have distributed so far. Worldwide, our COVID response has been, we have given in global grants a total of about $14.3 million, and on disaster response grants about $5 million. The total is $19.3 million, which is about 145 crores, which we distributed in the space of 8 weeks. But for India specific, meant just for the Indian subcontinent, we have given a total of 75 global grants. And that amount, along with the disaster response grants, which have been 33, that total amount is $5.6 million, which is about 41 crores. So we have, we have distributed funds, and all this has been activated within the space of 8 weeks. Applications have been received and funds have been disbursed. And I know our Rotary clubs all over the world and Rotary districts have not just relied on the Rotary Foundation, but they've also been aided by corporates who want to give it to an organization that they trust and they can work with. Let me give you an example of a corporate or multinational which all of you may know of, and that is Atos, ATOS. This is a French IT company which has got very large operations in India. It's got in Bangalore, Mumbai, Pune, Chennai. and a few other places that I'm not very sure of, but these four I know. So Atos last year had given, when the Kerala floods happened, and there was so much of destruction in terms of homes, Atos came forward and said, the Mumbai-based office contacted us and wanted to contribute to rebuilding homes in Kerala. So two of our districts, the Kerala unit and the Mumbai, the Thane district, worked together, submitted a global grant proposal where Atos contributed $250,000. And that came to roughly at that time about 175 crores. Now this amount was used to rebuild houses in Kerala. They were very actively involved, I must say. They visited the site 3 times and they were there for the actual handing over of the houses in the presence of the Chief Minister. I say this only because there was so much confidence built that when the COVID pandemic hit, they came forward and said, we would like to contribute, and we worked with Rotary. So can we give money for specific items? And they wanted to give ventilators, they wanted to give PPE kits, face masks, and they wanted to give it in 4 different areas: Mumbai, Pune, Bangalore, and Chennai. They gave us 90 lakhs of rupees to one Rotary club in Mumbai, and it was then used for distribution to these 4 centers. So there is synergy in working with corporates. And I would like to mention that corporates work with us because they know of Rotary, they know of the reputation of Rotary and of Rotary clubs and Rotary districts. More importantly, and I would like to share this with you, and I don't know if you're aware, there is an American-based NGO that rates NGOs in the United States of America. It rates over 9,000 NGOs, and it's called Charity Navigator. And Charity Navigator rates organizations on various parameters: transparency, use of funds, how much that you raise goes back directly into projects, etc. And they give you 4 stars. They give you 1 star, which is the least, and they give you a maximum of 4 stars, which is the highest. And there are no 5 stars. And I'm very proud to tell you that the Rotary Foundation has for 12 consecutive years been awarded 4 stars by Charity Navigator, which I think is an outstanding recognition for our transparency and for our stewardship. And that's what makes donors come back on a repeat basis. Individuals and corporates give us money on a regular basis because I think they can trust us. And you've seen the names of the corporates that are working with us. I'm very happy to tell you that we're very close right now working with Tata Trust in the field of water and sanitation. And we hope to do some major projects with them in the field of water, sanitation, and hygiene, which is our area of focus. And it's an area that they are very keen on working with. I've just shared a few points, Mr. Ande. I'd be happy, if you want any clarifications, I'd be happy to share that with you. But I'm going to hand it over back to Mr. Amol.
Thank you, sir. Yes, Harish sir, now this is, I want you to share your views. And as you know that you have been working with Rotary, and your views on what SELCO as an organization has been doing during the COVID times to share with the Rotaries. Thank you.
Thanks, Amol. Thanks, sir, for giving this wonderful brief on Rotary. And we know Rotary very well through our own work here in Karnataka as well as in other parts. But great hearing you, sir, and the work that, and especially when people talk about scale, we also talk about the scale in which Rotary was single-handedly responsible for polio eradication. I think it's something that when people talk about scale, it's not about the Googles and the Microsofts. It's more critical is how do you look at eradication of such magnitude with such complications of providing medications and to eradicate polio. It's no less feat. And how do we learn from those to, in fact, I think a lot of people will turn to you as soon as there is a vaccine ready for a coronavirus. I'm sure they're going to turn to Rotary to look at the examples in which that scale of vaccination needs to happen. And I think that should be as strong a case study like anything else, how that happened. And in a decentralized fashion. It was not like a centralized one large organization having one head and then saying this has to be done. It was completely done in a decentralized fashion. And that's why we believe that it's more sustainable and long term, rather than believing in what happens in large corporations. Or as you see, as soon as an pandemic like this or a crisis happens, the first thing people think is how do you lay off people and how do you conserve cash. But this is the time, I think, we need to look at how do we reach out to people rather than laying off people. How do you reach out and make sure that everybody's life is intact one way or the other? Because that's so great to hear you, and great to have you on the panel. And as you know, and as you rightly said, the philosophies are very matched. We started 25 years ago to prove that sustainable energy was a important catalyst in improving people's livelihoods, and where we create an ecosystem of creating what you call it as inclusivity, where any poor man's kid, poor family's kid, has an equal chance to become as much as you and me today. Unfortunately, because the parameters are different, because it's a non-inclusive world, we need to make sure that in India, the potential of 600 million people is utilized in a proper manner. They're not just viewed as physical labor. They're just not viewed that the day the crisis happens, that they are thrown back in a sense and they have to walk for thousands of kilometers. They're viewed as equal partners, equal citizens, equal contributors to economy. And how, in a very small way, can India then show a pathway to other countries in Africa as well as Latin America, that this is the way to look at sustainable growth as well as poverty eradication in a manner that does not harm the environment. And I think with COVID-19, which has recalibrated the world in a manner, how should sustainability be looked at? How should we look at poverty eradication, or how do we look at building resilience for families so that they don't have to go through this again in the future? Just like all of us have some sort of a safety nets, whether in terms of education, whether in terms of assets, whether in terms of income generating activity, we all have assets one way or the other. How do we create interventions that the poor have assets? And with that, I think partnerships is very critical. In cases, as you would know, so is that in Karnataka, what we have done is with in certain areas where both of us have adopted families, where we have said that, okay, it's not about pure charity, but how do we use little bits of money that we've raised together, place it in a bank, and force the bank to finance using our money as guarantees. That's why we leverage the money in multiple folds. So not only we leverage our monies, but also make the poor bankable. So in a manner more financially sustainable as so that they become credit worthy. And as soon as a solar loan is done, they're able to take a livelihood loan, and so they become basically bankable. So with Rotary, we have done a lot of these innovative programs, projects, and I'm glad that what you spoke about, some of the interventions and the opportunities, it is not about just charity. It's not about giving money. It's about how do we utilize the precious resources, whether it's human resources or financial resources, to create a foundation that cannot be shaken so easily by any pandemic or any crisis in the future. And that's where I think the excitement of working with institutions, especially with Rotary. And now that we have reached so approximately 1 million, 2.5 million in the states of Karnataka, Odisha, Jharkhand, as well as the Northeast. Our next focus, we have two parts. We have one is the SELCO India, which is a for-profit. I just wanted to give you a little bit perspective also. The for-profit is structured in a way that it is owned by 3 not-for-profits. It's 100% owned by 3 not-for-profits. We do not have a single shareholder. And in 25 years, all the profits have gone back to the organization. The shareholder agreement is watertight, where the monies go back to the organization. It's 40% held by a Swiss-based NGO, 30% by a US-based, another 30% by a Dutch-based NGOs. And the way the shareholder agreement is that the shareholders cannot easily sell their shares off until it gets the nod from the management. The management does a due diligence on the new shareholder, whether they are in line with the philosophy. And so way we do it, Gulam Saab, is that 20% of the profits is kept aside for employees, and the least earning employee takes the first hit at the profit. So the bottom 20% of the employees get the profits. And that's how it's distributed on a yearly basis. So if you look at a 600 people organization, our annual turnover of people on a yearly basis is less than 2%. So that's where we're saying that how should the profits be distributed from a bottom-up perspective. And then we created something else called the foundation in 2010 called SELCO Foundation. It's not the CSR arm of SELCO India, nor is it a fundraising for subsidizing SELCO India. It was to basically say that how vernacular entrepreneurs in Orissa, Jharkhand, and the Northeast could actually succeed. Because, well, sir, what happens today is everybody who does a brilliant PowerPoint presentation, Word or Excel, gets the money. The non-English speakers in our country lose out huge opportunities to become entrepreneurs and innovators. So we basically created the foundation focused in the Northeast and Odisha, Jharkhand to look at how do we encourage the vernacular speaking entrepreneurs and creating an ecosystem in those areas of the Northeast. And where we believe very strongly is that if we are able to succeed in the Northeast, we can use the Northeast as an R&D center for rest of the world. So how do we project India as the centerpiece of innovation? And in that manner, your collaboration, which has been going on for so many years, has been a beacon for us in terms of the lessons that we have learned together. And more so, we value so much that our relationship with you would be very critical for us, and especially in the poorer parts of the country. Amod, sir.
Yeah.
So, Amod, may I just say a few things? Where,
Please.
I'm deeply impressed by Mr. Hande's statement. Mr. Hande, let me tell you, I didn't know, frankly, I didn't know anything about what SELCO does, excepting what I heard in the Bangalore CSR meet. And what you speak today is something where it's truly impressive. And you talked of two things which to me, as an individual, it's so close to my heart. As you talked of inclusiveness, you know, we cannot have this great disparity that exists today. You speak of sharing the bonus with the ones who earn the least. To me, this is the way businesses must run, with a philosophy that says that it's not something that is it's going to mean that between the lowest earning member and the chairman of the company there is such a disparity that it's embarrassing. You also spoke of the fact of our labor. You know how, with great respect, I must say, one can only feel deeply depressed at the way our migrant labor has been treated.
Absolutely.
I would hope that all of us in this room and beyond have the heart and the wherewithal to say that this cannot continue. That, as you rightly say, they are partners, whether they're working as laborers in a construction industry or whether they are tailors who are working in a garment factory. These are labor which we must value, individuals, human beings that we must value. And I couldn't agree more with you. And just to quickly round up, and I'm so happy that you spoke of polio, the eradication of polio. I should have mentioned it, but I'm glad that you did. That's where the partnership comes in, Mr. Hande.
Right.
The Global Polio Eradication Initiative is a partnership of course, the governments of the world, but it is more so between Rotary and the Rotary Foundation, WHO, UNICEF, and the CDC as organizations, and we've had the Bill and Melinda Gates. Today, I must tell you, Mr. Hande, the Bill and Melinda Gates gives us $100 million every year, solely and only for polio eradication. Now, they could easily give it to other organizations.
Right.
But
Right.
they say, no, we will give it to Rotary because, shall I say, for want of a better word, they trust us.
Right. Right.
And I think that's the strength of an ongoing partnership, which I hope that SELCO and Rotary can develop. And I see in you and your philosophy and the way you explain the ownership of SELCO, the for-profit company, is an amazing, it's going back to my Tata days when Tata's, the companies are owned
Right.
in a large manner by the trusts who get all the, and you know, when I deal with Tata Trust, I'm going back to my original roots. So thank you very much, Mr. Ande. I cannot tell you how impressed I am. Thank you.
No, thank you, sir. Sir, it's that, and that when Amog said we're having a, this is where I think together it's today. I think we could partner to give some positive solutions rather than everybody. See, there are that's a lot of people say nahi hua nahi, ye ho raha, problem ho raha, but there are very few are actually coming up with a solution ho sakta hai. This is a whiteboard for us right now. This is a way to, okay, boss, this is what has happened. Is there a new way of looking at channelizing the efforts of the poor? And this is in a decentralized, and why also I think that's not written up very well. One, yes, sir, the polio, what also the decentralized governance, when people say that, oh, it has the governance of structures that has led to sustainability of a lot of programs that Rotary has done is because of the decentralized process. Absolutely. And the way it's looked at, right? It's a so when people blindly say scale up, it's scale up can also be scale up of processes. A scale up need not be just scale up of organizations per se. And then Rotary is an example. That keeps us excited, and hopefully that we can show some positive. Well, again, coming back to just to end, the Northeast we picked up for a certain reason. If you see, for example, the upper Assam, the problems
where exactly, Mr. Hande?
We are presently the first phase. We are looking at Assam, Manipur, and Meghalaya. And the issue why Manipur and Meghalaya is like, if you look at Manipur, which is 2.6 million people with 22,000 square kilometers, Djibouti is 22,000 square kilometers with 1 million population. Okay, and so whatever we do in Manipur is highly replicable in Djibouti, Togo, and other parts. Okay, and what we do in Upper Assam is very replicable when the floods happen, is very replicable to what Philippines can do after their typhoons and cyclones. So India becomes an R&D center for many of the countries. The financial immaturity in Tanzania and the financial immaturity of MFIs, of financial in Manipur is very similar. But Manipur can be an R&D center of financial innovation for Tanzania and Ghana, for example. So in the different parts of our country can be mapped out to different parts of the world. It's just, so rather than everybody talking about an Indian model, like for example, there were people from Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone, sir, is 2% electrified and with 6 million population, which is equivalent to a combination of Meghalaya and Manipur. And so in Sierra Leone, if I had they sent visitors, if we had shown them Karnataka, they would have said, boss, it's too developed. So we basically took them to rural Orissa in Kalahandi with solution. And suddenly they said, yeah, this is very similar to us and we can actually replicate. So the beauty of a country like ours with such diversified problems, that means we have a solution for every other human being in South America, Africa, and Southeast Asia. And that is where we project India as a leader of solutions, not just not military power, but leader of solutions in a way that we eradicate poverty in a manner that is sustainable. And this is our chance to show that.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Just one last thing on the agenda that because as we were talking about the social organizations and corporates, Gulam sir, as you know that SELCO by itself is very unique in terms of its delivery solutions. And what we do at SELCO is that the technology innovation that we do. So once when we started, we just looked at rural electrification. But as we did more and more of rural electrification, the problems that used to come to us saying that, can there be a solution for their livelihood? Can we do something for their income generation? Can something be done to elevate poverty and make their life more sustainable? And that is when we got into livelihoods. now we say that we have around 60 plus livelihood solutions, out of which say 70 to 80% are all agri-based. And we now look at scaling those solutions the way we did for the basic energy access. So in this thing, it's an opportunity. And how do you think that Rotary can and SELCO can go forward so that this can be scaled up? Just a question from my side to you, sir.
Is that for Rotary? That question
Yes.
for Rotary?
Yes, sir.
So I'd be happy if my colleagues can come in. But to me, you made an extremely important point, Mr. Hande, when you said that we are a decentralized. Everything works at the community level.
Right.
So the project is conceived at the ground level.
Right.
And we don't impose any. We just have certain parameters under which everybody has to function.
Absolutely.
So long as we maintain. We've got high stewardship. We've got sustainability. We've got certain other parameters. Other than that, it's a local requirement.
Absolutely.
So what is needed in Kalahandi may not be needed in say, a village in Karnataka. May not be.
Right.
So this is a great strength that we have. And it's that great diversity, which I hope that we can, talk about. So
Absolutely.
when I asked you the question about where in the Northeast do you work? We are fairly well based in Meghalaya and fairly well based in Assam. We have also clubs spread out in the other sister states of the Northeast. But certainly in these two which you're talking about, there is great strength. Orissa also, we've got a very good presence. For us to really discuss something specific, I'd rather do this at a level at which we can, maybe sit on a specific project
Absolutely.
and work with a team of people for an area, get them involved. So, for example, let me tell you Tata Trust, which we're only doing it in 3 states. We're only doing it for schools in these 3 states where we've involved the local Rotary clubs and districts, and with Tata Trust's great database that they have all over. So we're working out, some things which are solutions to a local issue.
Right.
So I'd like to take this forward if you can, but in a way that is, shall I say, more in depth, not something that we...
Agreed. Completely agree, sir. Completely agree. You're right. And see, Amok, before you ask the next question, Gulam sir, I want to plant something on your in your thought process. Is today what happens is, while yes, there are financial resources that are critical, I agree, but more than that, sometimes it's the other resources which are also as critical. For example, today, because of the connections that you have with the industry. Today, when we design, and when Amok spoke about 65, 70 or 80 livelihood options, many of these livelihood options, which are actually used by the poor, whether you talk about a blacksmith, whether you talk about a silk weaving machine, whether you talk about a roti rolling machine, whether you talk about a monkey repeller, okay, whether you talk about a milking machine, many of these are good, excellent rural innovators and entrepreneurs. But unfortunately, what happens, sometimes the technical expertise stops at a certain level because of the resources, lack of resources and lack of failure monies. And see, all the R&D that happens is because of the failure monies people get. But many of these poor entrepreneurs do not have the failure monies per se and the technical expertise. It's somewhere, I'm just leaving a thought, and it's not an answer that I require right now, sir, is that how do we then galvanize the industry to look at these or industry resources or human resources in these industries who are part of the Rotary membership to also become members, whether or mentors in terms of technical mentors, HR. This is where, how do you make a silk weaving machine more efficient so that today when you design a solar for a silk machine, people say solar is expensive. Nobody says the silk weaving machine is inefficiently designed. If it was designed very well, it needed less solar to actually power it on. And so these expertise are as critical as financial resources. And with your linkages is something that I just want to plant it is would be very critical also. Those type of mentors. Yeah.
Sure. So I was wondering, Mr. Hande, before Mr. Amog puts the next point forward, I was wondering if we could, just as we did in the case with Tata Trust, we localized it with, making it like, shall I say, a pilot. So we're working it on a pilot at a certain scale, and then seeing, how things work out. I'd like to do this with SELCO also, given your and given some of our capabilities that Rotary has. I would like to, say that this is the area that the skills that we want, the areas we want to work in. And these are the physical, geographical areas that we want to work in. I think there we could start working out some practical way to go forward.
So I will send you.
Whether you are.
No, completely. I was thinking that after this conversation today, I will, if I can just write out in an email some of the priority sectors and priority geographical areas and send it to you. And depending on, and that would be a next step, and we can follow up with a meeting similar between two to three of us.
I think that's great, and I'd like you, please, and Mr. Amog would know. Would like you to include our team of the ones who are sitting here, Sanjay, Shakuntala, Bhavna, and Riti Mondal. I think they need to get involved in this process. Absolutely. So I'd really appreciate your email address to me, but copy to all of these people.
Absolutely, I'll do that, sir.
Sanjay, would you like to say something, come in on anything that you can add on, or would you like to add on, please? Mr. Sanjay Parmar is the head of our Rotary Foundation in South Asia office. He heads the Rotary Foundation.
Hello, sir. How are you, Sanjay?
Thank you, Mr. Hande. Thank you, Gulam.
A little louder, Sanjay. I can't hear you.
Okay. Just a second. Actually, I'm experiencing a power cut in our area, so I'm tethering my mobile connectivity.
Now
better now.
Very good.
Okay. Thank you. So this was really an enlightening talk, and thank you for your views, Mr. Hande. And I agree with Gulam Bhai, because what we have seen when we work with Tara Trust and similar organizations, we work best when we have what we call a pilot. A pilot is essentially a very miniature scale of what we actually would intend to do over a period of time, but just so that the pilot gives us an insight into what are we doing right, where are we facing issues, and what are those issues, how can we circumvent them or address them. So I think that's a good way to start. And we usually start with a strong area that we have a presence in, or where we have active Rotary clubs. So that will give us a good, a good place to start off with, and a good springboard, if I may say so.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
sir.
Mr. Hande, let me just add on to what Sanjay said, that the area, the choice of the place we would mutually decide. We don't want to. We can, we have a fair amount of presence all across, but we can, where you would like to be and where we would like to be, we can always come to an agreement on. So that can be mutually worked out.
Absolutely. I'll send out an email with that. Absolutely.
Sure. Amog, over to you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, everybody. We come almost to the closing of the session. I have asked for any questions. I don't seem there are any. If there are any, people can write on the chat box. And till then, I would like Shakuntala Madam and Saurabh to come in here for their thoughts on the webinar. We have been talking for a long time now. Shakuntala ji?
Okay, so I think this was not in the agenda, but anyways, thank you, Amog. Yes, so after the Bangalore event, we really worked very closely, and Amog is very lively, always comes with ideas. And then when I learned more about SELCO, it was really impressive, and that is where I thought our trustee needs to come in to take forward a possible partnership. So by now, I think at least Amog is very much aware of the 6 basic areas of focus, and how related to these areas of focus we can plan and design the projects. And from SELCO, I think we would look forward to designing the programs in a more sustainable sustainable way and having a greater impact. So of course it is a wider reach when we join together. So we surely would look forward to that. And good that we had the event in Bangalore and we came close to SELCO, and look forward to a very fruitful, productive partnership here. Thank you, Amol.
Thank you, Shakuntala ji.
Shakuntala, may I just make a
Yes, sir.
request to you to please email to Mr. Hande and to Amog the latest issues, the last May and June issues of our Rotary News magazine. I think it would be a good
Okay.
idea for them to just go through that. Yeah, please.
Absolutely.
That magazine
I'll send
is
it.
only is essentially South Asian. It
Okay.
it really is very, very concentrated for activities in South Asia. More India,
Yes,
shall
sure.
I? India and Sri Lanka and Nepal.
Yeah, sure. I will send it out. Yes.
Thank
So,
you.
Amol?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Saurav, your closing remarks, please. Saurav is my friend, my college buddy. We have been together for the last 10 years, almost keeping in touch. We both joined the not-profit together after our MBA. Saurav, your closing remarks, please.
I
So
feel
is
sorry
it because
for
he's
Saurav.
your friend that he's giving the closing? Go ahead, Saurabh. Please go ahead.
Well, so thank you so much, Amog, for organizing this event and giving a background of our friendship as well. So, as Gulam sir said, of course, when we met, sir, we of course had a lot of discussion what Rotary is doing, because I was also new to Rotary. So we had a lot of discussion over our area of focus where there could be a possibility of collaboration, how we can go ahead. And that's in the meantime, the WASH area of focus event in Bangalore, and I invited Amog. You were there, sir. Then he had a chance to, get to know more about Rotary. And then a couple of consecutive meetings happened, and then we thought of organizing this webinar. So I would like to thank Amog for giving me this closing remarks opportunity. I must say that during 1 hour, we have been nourished with brilliant discussion, lots of learning and understanding about Rotary and SELCO, both the organizations. I would certainly like to conclude by emphasizing the need of sustainable partnership between SELCO and Rotary. Of course, we both want to achieve more, do better, and deliver transformative impacts. Well, I would also like to thank Harish sir and Trustee Gulam sir for managing their hectic schedule to allow this conference to be executed. So once again, thank you. Once again, thank you, Amog, and all your team.
All I can say is it's been a real pleasure to hear
Same
you
here,
and
sir.
Hande. I know it's a virtual meeting, but I look forward to when we can sit down together and have a cup of tea or coffee together.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Good night, sir.